Okay. So this week is the first week of in-season programming on the Flow Point method. So we wanted to kind of take this podcast episode to talk about what that looks like, how we think it could help those of you out there who aren't part of the program, and kind of get a little bit more granular about what it means off the water and on the water. So before that, though, we are running a promo. So we're going to give you until the end of this weekend, Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. The promo code is MOREBUOYS. All caps. So if you go to the website and you're like, I do want to try this, and you go to the in-season only programming, you can get that for 20% off.
Which is the price of what it would be monthly for the annual program.
So we're giving you a huge discount.
Yeah.
If you want to be part of the in-season only program and see what Flow Point Method is all about. So first, we're going to talk about what it looks like off the water.
Yeah. So I have been working with skiers since like 2008 with their off-water training. And those people that stick with their off-water training during the season, hands down, perform better and feel better all season long. So I know working with water skiers also, or people just in sport in general, we tend to get really encompassed in the thing that we're doing for our sport, and we forget to take care of our body off of that. Because it's already active, you're moving, but there's a lot you need to do, especially as a water skier in a tandem asymmetrical stance that will help you feel better. So the program during the in-season, it's not as intense as off-season. We've got a set 2 days a week of quote-unquote gym workouts that I recommend that you do. And that is, we're not lifting super heavy. What we're trying to do is maintain the strength that we've gained in the off-season and the preseason. But really what we're trying to do is maintain joint function. So again, as a water skier, we're standing in this tandem stance, and that results in asymmetry in our muscles. And so what we really want to do is try to balance that off the water so that we're staying as healthy and stable and neutral as we possibly can.
But aren't you going to get like more tired and like be weaker for your ski rides?
No, wonderful question. No, you're not going to be tired. Well, hopefully what happens is you actually feel better because you're recovering and you're moving your joints through full range of motion. So you actually will feel better by doing it. And if you've been doing nothing, because there might be some people that are interested in doing this and they're coming in from not doing any off-water training, just work with us. You start with less is more. You know, that's kind of our philosophy, less is more at first, and just work your way, progress yourself into it. Because I don't want you to be sore. I don't want you to go into your ski sets feeling tired and weak and sore. I want you to feel strong.
So what does that mean when you say less is more? Like, for instance, somebody's also thinking, okay, well, I do want to give off the water training a try during the in-season. I haven't done anything yet. What's like a minimum amount of stuff they do, or how do they modify it for themselves once they sign up?
Our program.
Yeah.
So
can they reach out?
Sure. So we have lots of ways. You can send us an email. You can reach out. We have a discussion board, which is basically a forum for our members only, directly on there. Or each individual workout, or even with the off-water or the on-water stuff, there's a comment section at the bottom of every day. So you can go look ahead and you can comment and say, hey, I need to modify this. How do I do it? And we get back to you and make it individualized for you that way. And then also just we talk about, there's a thing we use called rate of perceived exertion. So it's a way for you to see how you feel every single day, rather than saying, hey, I want you to go lift at 60% of this lift. I'm going to say, I want your rate of perceived exertion to be about a 6. And so you can say, maybe you're a little tired that day, you take it down to a 6, or if you know you're going to have a really hard week of skiing, maybe you even take it down to a 4. You know, you take it to something that's going to make you feel good. But the important thing, again, is that you're continuing to move, to keep up your strength, to keep up your mobility and your stability, and also to keep the consistency of it. Because another thing that happens with fitness is it's really easy to get out of the habit of it. And then once water skiing season is over, we go back and it's like dread getting back into it. So keeping the consistency of giving yourself that, prioritizing yourself throughout the week is also super important.
So I get that. I think that's really important. But what if people are out there saying, because I used to think this, like, I'm skiing, you know, at the beginning of the year, you get on the water and you're sore after like a couple rides, and you're like, there's just nothing else that prepares you for skiing. But also conversely, wouldn't you say that because if you just ski, your body doesn't really go through full range of motion?
Right.
Isn't that like maybe one of the biggest, most fundamental things, is like just simply having a consistent weekly program that at the very minimum doesn't overtax your body and also get your body moving through ranges of motion so that you don't get hurt?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. So to give you guys an example, so I'm looking at this week's program. We don't have any big major lifts. I'm not having you do heavy back squats and deadlifts and that kind of stuff in the off season. We're really trying during the in season. We're really trying to get your joints to move through full range of motion. So again, when you are on a water ski, your knees don't fully bend to full flexion. Your hips don't get into a squat. Your shoulders usually don't go all the way overhead, right? We don't get this full rotation of our shoulders. We don't get all of this. And so what we're trying to do is maintain that function, because if I spend most of my day sitting behind a desk or driving a car, and then I go behind the boat, and then I'm putting my kids to bed, I'm never actually functionally moving my body. And if we can touch on that most days of the week, whether it's through a gym session or an evening mobility session, a yoga, little flow, you're gonna feel better. You are not gonna feel more tired. You are not gonna feel like your muscles are wrecked. You're gonna feel more recovered, because one other big thing that happens when we start when we just ski and we don't actually have the strength and the stamina, yeah, you're gonna be sore. What we're also finding is people that have done the off season and the preseason, they're not as sore. Hands down, nobody is as sore going into the season. So again, consistency is key, and it's not this big, huge, massive program. It's just keeping you touching on this stuff most days of the week.
Also, I would say I think the most enjoyable things for a lot of people, or the most productive right away, is kind of the follow along stuff. You have the whole Fix Yourself series of videos, and you also have each week you have some type of flow, but it's follow along video.
Right. You just hit play.
You hit play and you follow Jenny through, whatever it is she's prioritizing that week, and it's usually pretty good. Yeah,
and they're anywhere from 10 minutes to 15 to 45, so you can kind of pick and choose around there for what you have.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, as far as the on-water stuff, we know she just kind of touched on it, but when things usually break down and go wrong, it's one of two reasons. Number one, it's a lack of physical capacity, meaning fitness, mobility, strength, power, or it's a breakdown in technique. And usually when we get tired near the end of a ski ride, or we've blown ourselves in the first two passes in a tournament because our adrenaline was through the roof because we weren't able to kind of have a mental practice before our ski ride, or just because we got close to falling and now it's our toughest pass and we want to run it, but we're taxed, we're done, we're cooked. That's when our technique falls down or breaks down. So flow point method on water stuff is focused on trying to address all of that. The biggest kind of value I think we have is in the direct contact you have with myself, with the coaching. It's both give-go, 2 monthly give-goes for free, as well as if you're an annual member, you get 2 in-depth coach sessions, which really allow us to dive in either on a Zoom call or in a video coach analysis to your skiing and prioritize kind of the 2 or 3 biggest things that you're doing wrong, or that you're deficient in. It's not that you're doing wrong, you're trying, but there may be fundamental weaknesses like ankle mobility or shoulder mobility that aren't allowing you to find the stance or the position that you want on the ski in the right spot that you've been trying to do for 5 years. And the missing link might be something off the water that Jenny's got. But as far as the technique goes, we know technique. That's one of the biggest things that's holding you back, all of us back, from being better skiers. And so this direct contact that you get with these 2 give-goes a month really allow me to kind of help you after you've kind of consumed the content on the platform, in addition to the weekly programming that I've spelled out in the workout section. That's where we have water ski programming for each week. The give-goes really help dial that in. So as far as the weekly stuff, we're really focused on the process early on in this in-season training. With the first 4 to 6 weeks are more process focused, because a lot of times by this point in the season, we already know, like, all right, we've got some good feeling, we've got some good rhythm, but now it's time, in my opinion, to kind of take a step back. So we focus on process. What are you doing before you ski? Making sure that you have your warm-up dialed in, making sure that you're doing some sort of ski drill that we have on the platform, making sure that you have some sort of mental imagery or visualization process before you get on the water. Those are kind of three basic things. It doesn't have to be those things, but having a ritual before you ski is key, not just in tournament, but in practice. And we focus on that in the water ski programming through the first month and a half of the in-season that you might get to see if you end up joining us on the program. So the reason that's important is because how you approach each set has a lot to do with what the outcomes are. And so if we can focus on developing a ritual, and again, this doesn't have to be a 45-minute program.
It shouldn't be.
Before each ski ride, because some skiers do that. I was guilty of that at one point. I know one of our pros on our pro team, FPM pro team, is guilty. He is guilty of that as well.
I'll say this though, for some people, if you're a pro, maybe that's your thing, that's what you need. Most of us don't have an extra 45 minutes a day. So we try to make this program, both on and off the water, effective but efficient.
Yes. So to that point, it can be literally a 90-second quick protocol. It could be a 2-minute, whatever you come up with, but we try to help you focus on developing that set of rituals before you ski. The next kind of fundamental when we're talking about on the water stuff in the in-season is stance. And we go through a lot of kind of tips and keys to help you prioritize and work towards better stance on the ski. I've said it many times over again. I'll say it again. Water skiing is positional. If you haven't heard that before, I'll kind of explain that. But the nuts and bolts of it are the way you stand on your ski has everything to do with the outcome of how efficient you can be going left, going right. That's what we do. We go left, we go right. We use the boat's power to go outside the wake and to cross the wakes and to negotiate turns. The difference between you and somebody in a tube, just an inner tube behind the boat, is you have control on where you get to go. If you're in a tube, you're at the mercy of the driver. If you're on a water ski, you get to say, I want to go left. But the way you do that is you change the position of your body on the ski and your body relative to the ski and the rope. So that's why water skiing is positional. It's all under your control. Now, if you can't get your body in the right shapes, if you can't hold the right positions because you don't have the off-water capacity, we've got that covered. If you don't understand exactly where you should be on the ski and when, or what are the keys and tips to focus on to help make these changes on the water, on the ski behind the boat, then that's the on-water stuff. And that's why we focus on that through the first couple of months. We try to focus on stance because it's the most fundamental thing. And I'm not even talking beginner, intermediate. I'm talking pro level skiers can still benefit. And that might be the lowest hanging fruit. The biggest deficiency for some pro skiers, stance. So that's why we focus on that. And we give quite a few tips and tricks on how to get you in a better stance. And along with the give goes and some of the other stuff with twice monthly Zoom calls that we do, we feel like we can really make some big change. And we've seen that. We've seen members just last week, member, PB, hadn't ever run 32 off twice in one tournament. Wasn't even that. It was maybe the conditions weren't even that great, and they still were able to run 32 off twice in one tournament when other folks weren't skiing that good. So it wasn't like the lake was skiing lights out, and set a PB. And it's early in the season. So that's not trying to toot our own horn, but that's kind of indicative of the success that we're having with the platform.
I will say that member has been a member for 3 years now too, consistently doing stuff. So I would say one big thing to toot our horn with the program that we have. Toot. It's about consistency. It's about and that doesn't mean perfection. It means consistency on the water, consistency off the water, consistent feedback. So getting those two give goes, coming to the coaching calls, getting consistent feedback from Marcus on what you should work on, rather than just floating around and trying to pick from this YouTube and that coach and this pro. And it gives you something to actually focus on. And when we focus on one or two things, we actually improve rather than bouncing around and having that consistent coaching. So I think that's a huge part of that is what a program is. That instead of bouncing, that is what a program is. And that is a big goal of ours with Flow Point Method.
And just to be clear, As far as the on-water stuff goes, I'm not saying that we have everything 100% dialed. I'm not saying that when you join the program with the on-water stuff and the technical coaching that I provide, that you need to buy into it hook, line, and sinker.
No.
But what we're saying is we're building a set of tools. We're giving you the tools to build a fundamental understanding of how skiing works. If you want to keep it simple, you can do that. If you want to take the deep dive, you can do that as well. But the point is, what we're trying to do is give you tools so that when you go get coaching from somebody else, you go to Florida, you go to Costa Rica, you go to Mexico, you go to these places with these other great coaches, you can, or even your ski partner, your well-intentioned ski partner who's just trying to tell you, hey, Jim, you're dragging your ass out of 2-4. And you're like, hey, thanks, Bob. I didn't know that. But you did know that. But my point is, when your well-intentioned ski partner comes at you with some tip or some observation from the boat, you can run that through some of the tools and some of the things that you've learned on the method, and you can make sense out of a well-intentioned piece of advice. Or you can take something another coach says and you can bring it back to a fundamental that we've talked about, that you've developed a really, really strong concept around, and it makes a lot more sense to you. So that's kind of the value that we're trying to provide with the method. It's not about our way or the highway. No. It's about, let's develop a methodology. Let's develop a set of approaches that can make your enjoyment of skiing and your success and the way you feel, your body, make all that better, on and off the water. That's what we're really shooting for.
Yeah.
So if you have any more questions, please leave a comment below this video or shoot us an email. Go on the website, check out what we have to offer, flowpointmethod.com.
Don't forget the discount if you go sign up for the in-season program. So if you go to flowpointmethod.com, go to membership, go to the in-season program, and when you check out, put in all capitals, more buoys.
More buoys. Okay, and that's 20% off. Okay, thanks for joining us, guys. We appreciate you, and let us know what you want to hear more of in the coming weeks and months, okay? All right, see you.